Hello you sexy beast and welcome back to War Thunder. We are on the patch 1.67 dev server and this is, well, Germany's answer to the Ho-Bro. Welcome to the Sturmpanzer 2. Now currently on the dev server the Sturmpanzer 2 sits at rank 1, battle rating 2.3. In the research trajectory it's right after the Panzerjäger 1. Now sadly with the current battle rating of 2.3 this thing will not face reserve tanks. However, it does get a big 150mm howitzer. Thankfully, you don't actually have to research any of the shells. The two shells are available from the start. You have a 150mm HE shell, which is a maximum penetration of 60mm at all ranges, any angle. This shell carries about 8.6 kilograms of explosive filler and has a muzzle velocity of only 240 meters per second. This is, well, tied with the Brummbär for being the slowest muzzle velocity in the game. Then you also have a heat shell which has 185mm of penetration at battle rating 2.3. Now if these shells seem very familiar to you, then well, that's because they are. This gun is statistically essentially exactly the same as the gun on the Brummbär. The exception that the Brummbär is battle rating 5.0 in arcade mode and this thing is battle rating 2.3. So let's take a look at the armor then. Now of course, this being a very low tank, a low tier tank with a big ass howitzer, it doesn't really have all that much armor. Thankfully it does have just enough armor to actually save you from machine gun fire, at least from the front, as you can see. 38 on the bottom, around 31 on here. Although you do have some holes in the middle here. From the sides you can pretty much forget it, only 15mm thick, as well as in the rear. Taking a look at the X-ray, you can actually see that the crew is pretty well protected. Now the enemy can probably shoot at the commander through this hole here that was reserved for the optics, but the driver, the loader and the aimer are at least safe from machine gun fire from the front. Not so much from the sides. You can see the entire crew in the back has their heads exposed. The ammunition seems to be 2-piece ammunition, and as such you have ammo racks on the side bottom here, in this box in the back, and right behind the gun breech. Now of course the main question is, how fast does this thing actually reload? Sadly it's not quite the 7.7 seconds that the Ho-Bro had when it first came out, but with a fully upgraded crew and with gold acing, you do get a 15-second reload. Basically just 9.5 seconds, so it's actually slightly faster than the Brummbär. But enough looking at this thing in the hangar. Let's actually find out how this thing plays in the game. Now keep in mind, this is the server, so chances are we're not really going to face many enemy players, but you can get an idea of how this thing performs. Alright lads, we are on Mozdok. Now, as you can see, there aren't really many players around. There do seem to be 2 players in the enemy team. Maybe one on my team, although I couldn't really confirm that. Now, the Sturmpanzer 1 only carry... hold on. Can you see that? Oh, that is nice. The fans of the radio actually spin. Now, this isn't the first tank that has this feature, but it's definitely a nice one, I do like that. Now, what I was saying, the Sturmpanzer 1 only has a total ammo capacity of 18 rounds. Now, if you do things well, of course, these 18 rounds will be more than enough to hold you on. By the way, something you have to keep in mind is this thing being a howitzer does kind of require a very low playstyle. I think we can actually hit this guy, can we? Come on, right here. We actually hit that! So, yes, you can actually indirect fire with this tank. Now of course, again, there was an AI player that didn't move, but at least in arcade mode you can actually use this thing in indirect fire mode. Now keep in mind, this thing in real life was an artillery piece. It wasn't really designed to be used in direct fire, which is why it doesn't have any armor in the first place. Now Warframe, of course, we don't have a artillery system like we do in World of Tanks, for example, so you kind of have to have line of sight to your enemy. Now, in realistic mode, I can see this thing being very, very challenging. I'm actually going to be very impressed if people can make this thing work in realistic mode, simply because of the absolutely massive bullet drop. Can we actually get this guy? Hold on. Yes, we can. Simply due to the massively slow muzzle velocity of only 240 meters per second, it's going to be very, very hard to hit anything with this tank, especially in realistic mode. In arcade mode, however, of course you get You get your one-shot, one-kill lead indicators, which make your life so much easier. Now, let's see if we can actually get some things from a little bit more of a longer range, shall we? It seems like we have an enemy up in front. Let's see. Sturmpanzer 4, that's very far away. About 800, I would say about here. Let's see. That shell went nowhere, but the game ended. Now, of course, I wouldn't leave you guys hanging without actually showing you off the heat shell. So we're going to try this 180 something millimeter HE shell. Heat shell, actually. 185 millimeters of penetration on a battle rating 2.3 vehicle. Now, this is a little bit off topic, but something I really like to do is take, for example, the Horo, which is the Japanese 150mm low-tier tank destroyer, take it into top tier, and just cheese on top tier vehicles. Now, I have managed to take down a T-10M with that tank before with the HE shell. The problem with the Horo, however, is that it's massively tall. It is a very limited firing arc, which, okay, this thing does have as well. As you can see, the firing arc is very limited. But the main problem with the Horo is that besides the HE shell, it only gets an APHE shell, which is kind of useless, really. Ah, that would be nice. The APHE shell is not really all that useful when you have the heat shell, especially when you have the HE shells, especially since the APHE shell doesn't have that much penetration. This tank, however, having access to a proper heat shell that has over 180 millimeters of penetration, I can see this thing becoming quite popular in top tier battles, just for the trolling effect. I mean, hell, you can penetrate leopards all day long. You can penetrate most of the enemy tanks, actually. 185mm is extremely good. Now, there are some enemies around here. Let's see if we can actually... Ooh, there's another problem. Gun depression. This thing does not have any gun depression. That's something that we have to keep in mind. Now, I hope all of these guys are AI, actually. Let's see. Definitely big... Ooh, that's bad. That's bad. Definitely big problems with the traverse of the gun. I have to turn my whole tank around in order to actually hit anything, so... Getting into close quarter operations is a bad thing with this thing. I don't think it actually gets MGs. It doesn't get a single MG, so... We have obstacles in our way that are soaking up our heat shell, but we can't really do anything against it. Because since we don't have a heat shell... As you can see, defenses are soaking up the heat shell. That is problematic. That's another problem I can see with this tank. Since you don't have an MG to clear out any obstacles in your way, you will have to position yourself accordingly. And there's a problem with the heat shell. Now, this heat shell really is only going to be used when you are going into top tier battles, let's be honest here. This is essentially designed to be used in top tier battles, because at this tier, there isn't really anything that can survive your HE shell in the first place, so there's absolutely no point in using the heat shell. Let's see if you can get this one last kill and then go into... Actually, ooh, that's a... He got our cannon barrel. Oh shit. No, 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 no. Yep, and we're dead. That's a player. That is definitely a player. So, that was a quick overview of the Sturmpanzer 2. Overall, it's essentially like a Horo, just with a better secondary shell that you can actually use in top tier battles. At low tier, it's mostly going to be used in arcade mode, probably because it's going to be very hard to actually land shots with this thing in realistic mode due to the absolutely abysmal muzzle velocity. The HE shell is enough to one-shot pretty much anything that does up to 60mm of armor, so that's really not an issue. You do have little ammo capacity, but let's be honest here, with the amount of armor this thing has, you're never going to really survive long enough to use all of your shells. And it doesn't really have any gun depression. So my recommendation, well, get it for the fun and use it in top tier battles. Alright lads, hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, do leave it a like rating. Stay tuned because we're going to do more previews of some more of the interesting vehicles. I think next up we're going to do either the RU-251, the new German premium light tank, or the FV-183, the British derp cannon with a 183mm gun. So let's stay tuned, and as always, my name is MikeGoesBoom, and thank you for watching.
You can lift your head up to the sky, take a deeper breath and give it time. You can walk the path among the lines with your shattered frame of mind. Instead you could always stay. We can wait right here and play until somehow you can find